All right, guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I am Dean Harris. I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing great.
Douglas is always with us. We're happy to have him. We're bringing you this podcast to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. You'll see our information on below there. If you have any questions, email me, dean@CrestCore.com. And I always like to tell you guys, I help buyers and sellers every day. Sellers is a big topic right now. Listings. So let's jump right into that. Today, we're going to talk about listings, how to get your home, your investment property ready to sell. This is a super hot topic right now. I've got more listings right now than I've had in 20 months.
I was going to say at least over a year.
24 months.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, probably the most that I've had. And it falls right in line to what the market's doing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, because before they were, I mean, you couldn't get it listed. You couldn't keep them.
No, couldn't keep them. And they were priced, so low at the time.
Yeah.
Right. Versus the interest rate they could move. So they were going. Now things are a little bit more difficult. I wish I had my little crystal ball here because I could brag on myself a little bit. But things are falling and happening exactly how we thought they would. And what I mean by that is the shift from everything's going in immediately buyer.
The seller's market.
Seller's market. Buyers are hungry, buy. Now our sellers and our property owners are beginning to come out. There's things that are surfacing. Mismanagement.
Yeah, more normalized.
Normalized type of activity
right.
that you usually see.
Yes.
A balance on both sides. So today we're going to talk about listings, how to get your investment deal ready to list, some basic things that are important, but a lot of things that people don't realize. They just call me and say, hey, can you sell it? With no preparation whatsoever. So let's get into that today.
Okay,
listings. One of the first things that I think about, I've sold, you've sold. If you're not one of us in the middle of the industry, what's the first thing you kind of need to know if you're going to sell your house? Mm-hmm. How much is it? How much? What's the value? How much can I get for this property? So I would advise you to talk to an agent. Talk to your property manager can maybe help you with that. They're going to be more suited for the actual management stuff versus showing you some values.
They're going to be super strong on the rent.
Big time.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but as far as the actual value of the property, that's not their business.
No. I would talk to an agent, preferably one at CrestCore, preferably one named Dean Harris. I would start there.
Yeah.
But what you can go ahead.
An investment oriented, investment focused agent. Right?
Yeah, I would make sure that if they don't, I would have over half of their business with investors. I would ask that question. Yeah. I would ask if they own any rental properties themselves. Yeah. That's a conversation that I've learned over the years has been extremely beneficial to me and clients. I'm an investor. I'm in the same boat. I've sold property before. We talked about Battlefield a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that was an awful scenario for me. So I've sold and I've done that. So talk to your agent, get an idea, because it isn't just, I'll catch myself rambling here, but it isn't just, hey, Dean, how much is 123 Main Street? This is how much. I need to know what the condition.
Sure.
I need to know if there's a tenant and if they're paying on time. Are they paying market rent? Like there's so many different varying factors into valuing an investment home versus your residential home in a neighborhood. There's matching square feet, matching bed and bath count. They sold the last 4 months. Well, there's your value. And it's easy. It's cut and dry. After repairs, which value you're looking for. That's exactly right.
It's a little more cut and dry.
A little more cut and dry. That's right.
Gotcha. And you can get that with a vacant house.
Yes.
In an investment property. We would talk more about that.
That's exactly right. So talking to an agent, to me, getting an idea of the value right up front, to me, is the first thing.
Yes, absolutely. You need to get a handle on the value of the property, be it agent. Obviously, that makes sense. There's some, the Zillows of the world, the other resources to gauge a value of what things and to see comps in the neighborhood. So
Zillow, a lot of people do come to me with the Zillow and the Realtor.com stuff. And when Zillow first came out, it was radically off.
Sure. They didn't have the data.
They didn't have the sample size to kind of put it all together.
Probably 2007, 8. I can't remember, 6 maybe. I mean, it's been 15 years. So they've gotten stronger. They got a lot of data as a resource. I just use it. It's a resource. It is not the end all be all.
No, and it has become more accurate. I'm still not going to tell you that the values that they give you there, what you're going to get for your home, because there's so many other things at play.
Definitely not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying, as far as I think there's some comps on there. You can get some other information.
Yes.
But just helpful info.
That's right. If the property is occupied, make sure the tenant's paying market rent. How important is that?
I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, if you want to get maximum value, you have to have maximum rent. If it's a tenant-occupied property.
If it's a tenant-occupied property, they have to be paying the market rent. Half. They really need to be paying the market rent for your home to be as marketable as it can be.
Yes. I don't know what else. I mean, unless it's a short-term lease that somebody wants to buy it and then not renew the lease, then repair it and then put it on the market for a higher price. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're saying that if you want to get maximum dollar for a tenant-occupied property, you need to have them on a lease. I would say
close
12. I mean, close to market rent. And probably at this stage in the game, I would want to see 12-month lease. I don't think I'd want to see a 24-month lease, just because you don't know still if there's some room for rents to go up.
We're not that stable.
Not right now. Not right now. So
no, we're not that stable. Things could go up still a little bit. They could go down. I mean, I just think there's too many factors to go into longer. Yeah. I don't have any longer than 12 months.
Yeah. So a market rate rent on a 12-month lease.
Oh yeah.
As far as maximizing the value from a rental property.
Yes. Now I will tell you, if you're in an area where it's a higher end property and there's some appreciation play that's involved with that, and you're not quite at market rent, then okay, let's list it, sell it. I can show the new buyer, hey, they're not quite there. We can move it up. This is a great house in a great area, but I do think there needs to be a hard line of, how many months is left on the lease? Oh, over 6 at the below market rent.
Right.
It's like buyers, because I represent buyers all the time, but they get down on that. It shouldn't influence them as much as it does. It shouldn't.
Right.
Because you're buying the home, not the tenant, right? I mean, you're buying this is a $1,500 rental. They're paying $1,100 right now. They got 4 months left. That's still a good house. 4 months of that doesn't take that home.
They're either going to pay the increased rent or they're going to move out and you're going to get it back.
That's exactly right.
On the market and get somebody in there who is paying market rent.
That's
I
right.
agree with that.
Number 3, what you got here? If vacant, let's broom sweep. I mean, I don't believe that the home on the inside, your personal home, everything needs to be great, right? Operating clean. It needs to show really well. In the pictures, show really well. Your investment home, if it's vacant, you don't necessarily, in my opinion, you don't necessarily have to have all the glitz and the glamour and everything has to be perfect. You want it to be clean. You want it to be swept out. You don't want it to be personal trash in there from the prior tenant.
Right.
But getting the outside clean, because I will tell you, over the years, I've had people, when they show up at a home and it's vacant but clean, the difference in opinion of if they show up and there's personal property in the home, there's trash in the yard, it doesn't look good. Although you can have all that cleaned up and done for next to nothing, it still doesn't show as well. It doesn't present as well as if you've at least broom swept the inside of the house, right? I mean, just have it at least somewhat clean. In my opinion. Yeah. Right. To show. So,
again, you're looking to maximize the value. So
that's right.
Of a vacant house.
That's right.
And in that scenario, the best way to maximize
it's just to clean the thing up. I mean, clean it. And we're going over stuff that's so simple. I mean, this should be self-explanatory, but you'll be shocked at how many houses that I list and try to sell. And there's, half the houses still got the old tenant stuff in it.
Yes. Yeah. Like, and I think what new sellers might not know is, if they hadn't been buyers or hadn't bought in a while, is that the likely buyer, the potential buyers, are most likely going to get this house under contract with an inspection contingency. So they're going to go out there and look. So to your point, this doesn't have to be a perfect house, but they want to at least be able to walk through it to be able to determine what it needs.
Can a tenant live here? You know what I mean? Can someone live in this home right now?
And what type of work am I going to need to do? And it's a little bit harder to do that with junk everywhere, because the first thing in their mind is like, I got to get all the junk out before I can really assess and tell how much work needs to be done. So because of that, I'm gonna have to discount my offer a little bit more.
Now that's where I was getting at. if they show up and there's stuff everywhere, you just said it. They don't feel like they can give you what you're asking. I got to clean all this up. And if it costs them $500, they're going to tell you it's $2,500. So simple, but something that you definitely need to do.
Yes.
Back taxes and liens. Any other type of construction lien or anything else on the title, you need to make sure that it's clear. A lot of that comes after you get it under contract and you send it to your title company.
That's right. That's what I was going to say. Make sure that's all paid at closing.
Yep. That you don't have any of that carrying over. So those are some basic things.
And plan for it. I mean, like if you've got a mortgage, if you haven't paid your taxes this year because they're due, but hey, I'm about to sell it. As long as you're disclosing that to the buyers or your agent or to the closing agents or this closing companies, or planning or planning for that. I mean, because you don't want to walk in there and say, hey, I thought I was going to get this, but I haven't paid my taxes and I haven't paid this and I've got a fine for that. And all of a sudden, this isn't what I thought I was getting, netting.
Now I'm making 15, I'm taking 5.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a letdown. Just make sure you know where you're at. I mean, a lot of you guys are going to have that idea and kind of know where you're at anyway, but just making sure you know where your taxes, liens, if you have anything else that is cleared up. Now you're ready for the market. Mm-hmm. So how you going to price it? Mm-hmm. How aggressive do you be? I'm kind of coming in right at market value or a little under for it. And here's the reason why. I'm feeling like right now there is still a backlog that's long enough and deep enough of investors looking to buy that we can still get good prices for homes. I'm listing some homes right now for a seller and I'm coming in slightly under the value, even with the rehab.
Under the market?
Under the market value. Not a lot. I'm talking $5,000, maybe 10. And it's creating some bidding scenarios.
Yes.
Yeah. So that shows me 2 things. One, y'all are out there. Buyers are out there.
For sure.
And they're ready.
For sure.
And they're looking.
They're looking.
I'm listing these homes and they're getting multiple offers and they all need rehab, guys. These aren't homes. These aren't turnkey properties that look great. These are not in great shape. And I'm getting a lot of activity from them. So to me right now, this in 3 months might not be the case. And if other agents are listening to this, congratulations. I'm giving you some free advice too. I'm coming in slightly under than where I think the actual value is. So example, if I think right now it's a $200K ARV, it needs $40,000 in work.
160.
That's 160. They're going to need a deal.
Of course.
So the list price for that's 130, 135.
Okay.
I'm coming in at about 125, 128 as a list price. And everyone is doing what? Because you've seen these transactions.
Hey.
Boom, they're going straight to it.
Yep.
Okay. These are all houses.
Because they know that's a $200,000 house.
They know it's a $200K house that has currently $72,000 in gap in room.
Correct.
They know there's rehab, but that still smells like money, right?
Yeah.
And they're selling. So that's kind of where I'm at and where I'm
landing. And you're getting a little bit of a bid on that.
The seller is thrilled because they're getting
multiple
at their
offers.
List, above their list and multiple offers.
And and that's what I was going to say, which, time to date this March 2023, you have listed properties in the past 14 days.
Yep.
That have gotten offers above list price.
Every one of them that I've sold so far has.
Yeah. Because remember, that's when you talk about a seller's market, like multiple offers above list price. Like
we're telling you right now, that's where this is at.
That's still here.
We have the backlog of buyers. The backlog of buyers was so deep. I'm talking
correct
miles long of people looking to buy investment homes. And although the interest rate hike clipped off a bunch of that, if I'm looking down the line, it's a lot shorter now because a whole section of them moved because they can't get a loan anymore.
Yes.
Well, they can, but it doesn't make any sense anymore, right? Now we're cash buyers, no contingencies, everything in my little crystal ball is like, this is all going to come back to where it was.
And what we're talking about and why it's still we've said this for a year, why it's a good time to sell is because supply is still low.
Yes.
Supply is still low and demand, though it's lower, it's still above what the supply can handle. So therefore, prices never plummeted. We've talked about this, and it doesn't seem like they will, because the supply is so low, the demand is still greater than the supply, and so what I'm hearing you say is like that's still the case, such that buyers are still bidding and outbidding, or bidding with one another for properties that are listed fairly.
Yeah, that is 100% accurate. Every I remember, Douglas, when was this, man? It was 2013 and 14. We were in a very similar market, very similar to what we are right now. People were buying homes. They were buying investment deals. Now the value, the price ranges were different, but they were buying homes, buying them the same way at about the same pace. So for any of you guys, I love the veer off that we do on this podcast. Yeah. If you're sitting there listening right now and you're watching right now, and you're a potential real estate investor, and you've thought about it, and you're like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm not, I'm doing it, I'm not. And then the interest rate hike came, and you're like, whoa, that's what I was waiting on. Some bad news, something to push me on this side of the fence or push me on that side. And the interest rate pushed you on the other side. You made the wrong choice. The market is still here to buy investment deals. We just got done telling you. I mean, I locked up 7 or 8 of those within 3 days of listing them.
Yes.
So there is a line, or the backlog is still there. This podcast is set up for our sellers. We're not talking to our buyers. We're talking to the people that are ready to list their investment home.
Yes.
Know for a fact, if you price it right and accordingly, you're going to sell it. It's not going to sit there. It's going to sell, and you might even get more than one offer because of this backlog of people.
Yes.
It's so active.
Because there is and people think that the lights go off and everybody leaves the party. Well, it's like, no. In this case, they're like, they're people, there is a floor for demand. They're like you said, they're cash buyers who are waiting. Life happens and people have to want to continue to buy.
Yeah.
There are people who dollar cost average, kind of like they want to buy houses all the time. So they got to buy one a month, one a quarter, whatever their pace is. So there's always people
at the party. They just changed the record. They went from Garth Brooks to Young Dolph.
There you go. Yes.
Now this changes.
Switching out the crowd, different people coming down to dance.
Yeah, y'all been to Bill Street Music Festival?
That's right.
They got rap on one end and country on the other, man. I mean, it's just that we're joking, but that is exactly right. Yeah. It's the same party. The record's changed. So there are still people hanging out at this party.
Yes,
that were listening to the country music for a while, right? They just
and there's
switched
always
it over
going to be music
else.
happening.
That's always music
as long
playing.
as there's music happening, people are going to come and want to dance and listen.
That's exactly
and so that's
right.
where we are. And if people forget that like there is a floor for demand. So there's always, because of the low supply. I mean, it's Econ 101, but when you have that low supply, that the demand continues to make a floor for that price. So as a seller, believe it or not, it's a good time to sell. I listed one last week with you.
Yes, and we've had showings and looks, and it's going to sell.
And I've got another, and I know we talk about this. We didn't really mention it. We said talk to an agent. I had a small commercial property.
Yep.
So that's not for you.
No, I don't. Yeah. That's
so
right.
I went. So I'm not going to list that with Dean because it's like that's not what you do.
Disservice.
So go find a commercial agent. Got a buddy who's a commercial agent. He's looking at it, going to help me with there.
Yeah.
So it's like this is great. So it's like get with somebody who knows how to list your rental property.
That product.
Absolutely.
Commercial,
whether it's a small commercial building, whether it's a small multifamily building, whether it's an individual single family duplex kind of property, or a retail fix and flip like Alyssa or somebody else.
That's right.
There are opportunities.
So we mentioned list with an agent that has some investment experience. We talked about that. Line yourself with a title company that closes investment deals. That's big.
Yeah.
There are a few title companies in town I don't recommend.
Yes.
I'll share those off the podcast.
Yep.
We send everything to Will Griffin at Griffin, Clift, Everton,
yes,
Ashmeyer.
Big thumbs up for Will.
And local title, April McDowell and her
big
team.
Thumbs up for
both of those companies close investment deals. All your deals, I use them as
both
well.
Of them.
Will's a great guy.
Absolutely.
And keeps us in line. So I definitely suggest you lining that up with your title company. Make sure you have the right one. Make sure your property management company knows.
Keep them in the loop.
Keep your property management company in the loop. Let them know. I mean, you don't necessarily list it and let them know, hey, by the way, I've listed this house. I'm going to sell it. It's coming up on the radar to be gone. And the very last thing I had is after you sell, now go buy another one.
Yes. I mean, most likely this is your repositioning this portfolio, right? This is a time to reassess. And we've talked about this over the past year, that this has been a really good time. The past 2 years, for me personally, of repositioning. When it was the height of the seller's market. I mean, we were doing some tax stuff for an entity and just sent it to the accountant, and I was like, "Hey, man, we sold 4 properties last year, pretty much at the height of the market during that time period, because the selling was good.
Yep.
The selling is still good.
Yes, it is.
And so in that same entity, I was like, you know what? I got one more that became vacant. I wanted to sell it vacant. Now's the time to list it to sell it vacant.
We are still getting strong activity.
Now is a good time to sell in practicing what I preach, and I don't like.
Well, we both do that on this podcast. I mean,
so to your point, like I've been repositioning the portfolio by selling things I don't want, looking for opportunities to infill or put in properties that are opportunities, or pay down debt, or get ready for the next opportunity. So again, I'm 100% in your advice. Like when you sell it, what's the next step?
What's the next step? I mean, it's not over. If something's not working, let's sell it and move on to the next one.
Yes.
Before we stop and close, I'd give free evaluations for all properties. I will let you know how much we can sell it for. You give me as much information as you can. I'll send you back a free evaluation, including market comps from our area, from our market, and let you know what you can sell it for. So don't hesitate to reach out, Dean@CrestCore.com. You got anything else on listings? It's a little shorter one, but this is as basic as it gets.
I mean, I probably would say if you're going to sell if you're thinking about selling in the next year, like now, I would sell now.
I would sell now. You're getting less now than what you did a year ago. You're going to get not much, but you're getting less now than what you were going to get a year ago.
And we still don't, you just don't have a crystal ball. There are geopolitical things always that could happen. So it's like, hey, now is a good time to sell.
Yep.
So why wait? That I didn't. Last week I was like, you know what? I need to sell that. I need to sell that house. Dean, let's list this.
Yes.
And just you got it listed immediately.
Yeah.
So that I guess that's my part of thing. Like if you're thinking and contemplating and considering selling, have that conversation with you, get the value. See, again, mine was like, oh wow, that value is more than I thought.
Yeah.
For the condition of that home. So I was like, perfect.
And there's no commitment to me. We're going to get this done for you, and I'll let you know what you can sell and if you choose to do it or not. But yeah, there's no commitment. Just shoot me that email, Dean@CrestCore.com, and I'll be happy to get you that value.
Love it. If you're considering it, now's the time. Just check it out.
Let's do it. All right. See you guys next time. Appreciate you listening.